This is E&P Reports, a vodcast from Editor and Publisher Magazine, the authoritative voice of news media since 1884, serving newspapers, broadcast, digital, and all forms of news publishing.
And greetings once again, Mike Blinder, publisher of E&P Magazine. As always, we urge our audience who is listening on their favorite podcast platform to follow us. Watching on YouTube, please do me a favor. Look below the screen. There's a subscribe button. There's a bell to the right. Hit those things, smash them, click them, whatever your preference, and you'll get an update each and every time we upload a new episode of this weekly vodcast series, E&P Reports. I am honored to get on our program a very busy man today, Dean Riding, CEO, America's Newspapers. Dean, you've been a busy guy lately, right? You just came out of a big conference, the Family Owners Conference. You finally got this legislation coming through that we knew was coming, kind of. You kept teasing us, but it was all going on in the background. Are you taking time off now, playing golf? What are you doing?
Not yet, Mike. That sounds like a good plan, but not this week.
My God. Dean, you've been in the middle and the forefront, one of the most amazing, I guess, turnarounds. Can I use that term? Because we were all watching the LJSA last year. We were all hoping. We watched it just sputter out near the end there. We thought it was just going to be a crazy year where we weren't going to have any traction. And now we've got some big news. If you don't know what we're talking about, we're discussing a major new piece of legislation that was just introduced in Congress by Representative Claudia Tenney of New York, Suzanne Delbene, of Washington, the Community News and Small Business Support Act. Dean, congratulations.
Thank you. It's a big step. We're very excited to have this bill introduced and glad to have such great supporters in both Representative Tenney and Delbene. They're both, represent both sides of the aisle coming together. Mike, I have seen a real appetite in our members in Congress to support local news. There's an understanding, I think better than ever, that the need for strong local journalism is critical for our communities. It's a big part, and our legislators are understanding that.
This is amazing, and it's so good to have some fresh news to hope for, and some new legislation to push for, and we're going to get to that story on the backside of this message.
This episode of E&P Reports is exclusively sponsored by Blocks Digital, formerly Town News. Even though the name has changed, their commitment to the media industry is as strong as ever. Blocks Digital is now even better positioned to deliver integrated solutions like content management, audience development, advertising revenue, video management, and more. Join the over 2,000 news publishers worldwide that power their ongoing digital transformation with Blocks Digital, serving over 141 million monthly users who view over 6.5 billion pages of content each year. You can trust Blocks Digital to empower you, to connect you at scale with the community you need to reach. Blocks Digital, formerly Town News, now reimagined to help meet the news publishing challenges of tomorrow and beyond. Learn more at blocksdigital.com.
Okay, Dean, question one. It was all LGSA last year. Basically, if I just give our audience a quick overview, if I may, it was simply a beautiful idea to offer tax breaks on 3 separate levels to help support local journalism, which unfortunately needs a little help right now. It's hard to have a sustainable local business model in such a turbulent world. And those tax breaks were a tax credit for the person who pays the salary of a journalist, a tax credit for the advertiser who supports a local news outlet, and a tax credit for possibly the person who pays to subscribe for local news. That was the LGSA. The LGSA almost made it through Congress, sputtered out and didn't. And tell me what the difference is between that and now the new HR 4756 Community News and Small Business Support Act.
Sure. So the act from last year, which is HR 3940, did have the 3 provisions. The subscription credit has been removed from the bill this year. I think that makes sense. The strongest 2 components of the bill were the tax credit for advertising in local media for small businesses, and the tax credit for newsroom employees. Those are the most important. You know, Mike, sometimes it's better to keep things simple. We think that these two elements are most palatable to both Democrats and Republicans. We think it just makes the most sense.
And basically, if I may, it's like a 5-year plan, right? Like if you got a 5-year break on the salary for the journalist you employ. Go ahead.
5 years is deliberate. You know, we believe that the business needs support. We don't think it needs to be permanent. We're in a state of transition. The other issue, which you're acutely aware, is that we want to see local journalists compensated when their content is used by big tech.
Right.
That's a separate issue, but that's part of this evolution that the industry is going through. We're figuring out how to better monetize the new digital world. You know, we have the audience. I think you've seen the research. We have audience now. We're just learning how to monetize that audience better. We knew how to do that very well in the print world, and print is still important, but obviously declining. Futures in digital, and we're still figuring that piece out. But Claudia, 5 years would give us time to do that.
All right. Claudia Tenney, a Republican, is the one championing this bill. Why her? Why did she decide to be the big champion to bring this legislation to Congress?
Mike, because she has a passion for this. She understands the needs of her community, that they need strong newspapers, they need strong local journalism. So she had a passion for it. She has an understanding of the business. Her family was in the newspaper business, and she ran her family newspapers at one point. So she really knows how important this is to a community and what it means.
Chicken and egg, where did it start? Did they come to you, or did suddenly Claudia wake up one morning and saying, damn it, I got to do something to help local journalism? Did you guys bring it to her? And the deal points, can you just give me a quick idea of how this evolved?
Sure. Well, at the conclusion of the last session, we knew we had to start over. So we just started reaching out to various members of Congress who we thought would have interest in this and have a passion. And Representative Tenney responded very well, and she was the right person, along with Representative Delbene.
Okay, so what is the openness? What is the appetite of you just said there's an appetite in the U.S. Congress. How much? And is Tenney, okay, I'm not trying to, does she have the juice to be the lead on this, to help bring in some of that bipartisan support, in your opinion?
You know, I think she does. She's well respected by her peers. She's, relatively new to Congress, but doing a great job. Same for Representative Delbene, very well respected by her peers. Both were previous supporters of the bill. So, that was obviously the logical place for us to start. But yes, I think they're both, I think that they're great leaders for this bill.
You got a lot of people working with you on this, Dean. I mean, organizations, associations, you even have the union, right? I mean, behind you on this one as well. You got a lot of people lining up behind you. But there's also a faction out there that doubts this can happen. I mean, maybe, you backed into the stove once, Dean, you already got burnt. Why are we spending so much energy and effort into that? What say you to those that are just saying, why are we wasting time again? It's never going to happen. Give us that Pollyanna look into this.
Well, first of all, it's important. You know that there's average of 2 newspapers a week continuing to close. The decline of local journalism is affecting our country in very negative ways, very serious, and Congress is understanding that. Because they understand that, it makes sense to me for us to continue to ask for this support. Do I think it can happen? Yes, I do. We came very, very close in the last session. It was actually part of the Build Back Better Act.
Yes.
Would have gone through had it not been for Senator Manchin had some concerns about the way the bill was written and some of the provisions, nothing to do with our component of the bill. But that's really what derailed it. It wasn't there wasn't lack of support. There was adequate support. We were able to get it included. I think that same environment exists today, if not stronger. I think there is more interest in protecting local journalism than there was even a couple of years ago. So I think the time is right. I don't think it will be necessarily easy. It's Mike, it's not real easy to get any legislation passed today. We'll need the right package later on in the year. We think that opportunity may arise, and we'll be ready to pounce. And the reality is, Mike, if we don't have this in the books now, we won't be able to do it later. So we're working for some very specific goals. We want to see this passed. We want to see it included in legislation this year. But we are in this for the long run.
One of the biggest debates that we have had on this forum many times with many people that we report on, that you and I must wake up every morning and ponder, is what the heck is local news? We are a society, again, I just go back, a Madisonian-based democracy with an unfettered press, which means the government does not dictate what news is or isn't. We self-police ourselves as an industry. And now there's so many different ways with social media and other blogging and everything else. We want to talk about fake, not fake, whatever. Is that going to be an issue again? Or is it going to boil down to the fact is who gets the tax break and who doesn't? What is a local journalist? What isn't? There'll be too much abuse of this because you guys have never licensed yourselves. Do you foresee that as a problem, or do you think that's just going to be accepted as part of that sausage making process?
Well, you always don't know the unintended consequences of any bill. We've looked through this. A lot of very smart people have really studied this very closely. I feel like we have a good definition that will work. It certainly works for our members and newspapers across the U.S. But it also includes nonprofits, others. We're excluding those that appear to have a partisan bent. I think there's good language in there that protects us from those. So I think we've got enough of that sewn up in the text of this bill that we'll be in good shape.
Again, Bill, let's just discuss it on the news publishing side, which is this audience. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's targeted for local, small news publishers or news media outlets who employ a local journalist that must be focused on local news. And let's assume you're paying $50,000 a year for this person. You're going to get a $25,000 tax break in year one and $15,000 a year tax break for the next 4 years. Is that limited to only 3 or 4 employees? If I'm a small outlet with 8, is there any, cap on this for that local publisher?
So there are some caps. Very, very large newspapers, those with more than 750 employees will not qualify. National organizations will not qualify. But Mike, as you know, the vast majority of all newspapers across the U.S. are below 750 employees. So virtually every newspaper in the country will qualify. Want to clarify, it's not 25,000. It is 50% of the total compensation, which is capped at 50,000. So if a person was making a little less, then it would actually be less. And then years 2 through 5, it's that drops from 50% of the credit to 30%. So if they're making 40,000, then the credit would be 12,000. But it's important to note it's a refundable credit. So let's say you're not in a profitable situation, you still get those tax credits.
Most in the real world today, Dean, most local news is generated now by a local newspaper, a local TV station outlet, and possibly a digital online-only news operation.
Right.
What keeps, and radio, I have a background in radio. When I was back in running radio stations in the early 90s, we had news teams. We were covering the school board and all that and more. Most of that has gone by the wayside. But what say you to the argument that the advertiser tax credit should just be for any local business that wants to apply their dollars to grow? Why are we basically just saying, look, we're support local journalism? Here's an easy way to do it. Is this kind of the message to the local advertisers? You offer that $5,000 in the first year, $2,500 in the 4 subsequent years tax credit for supporting local journalism.
Well, advertising works. We know that advertising works, and marketing your business smartly is a good thing to do, and it will help the business grow. So the incentive here is to help those local businesses by providing this tax credit, but directing the money to the local news outlets. So, and this does qualify if you're a licensed TV station or radio station or a newspaper. Or if you're a nonprofit and working that way, it will also still can qualify for sponsorships. So it's a great incentive for those small businesses under 50 employees to do the right things to help their business while supporting the local organizations, media organizations.
There's going to have to be some education to the local business owner in this as well. This is why we urge you to move advertising dollars to support local news. Not only is it an effective media that works, it's a media that you'll be supporting that helps our entire government roll. Is that how it's going to pretty much be brought out?
Yes, and Mike, obviously we plan to make sure and help educate our members so they understand the nuance of this, so they're able to go out and market it. It's a great selling opportunity for them.
All right, so let's get to that. That's my final thought. There's going to have to be a united positioning here. I mean, I get a little frustrated, Dean. You know that. I've discussed it with you offline many times that there's a lot of, we're one industry with a lot of representing organizations. Do you agree? I mean, there are just so many different out there that are representing us on so many different levels. We need a united message. Do you agree or disagree? We need to all be rowing in the same direction. You run one of the largest, most influential news publishing associations in North America, if not the world. What are you going to do, Dean Ridings, at America's newspapers to help make sure we're all holding hands and singing Kumbaya during this process?
Well, I have a great answer to that, Mike, and that is everyone is coming together around this bill. I've been talking to many of the state press associations, other organizations unrelated, such as Rebuild Local News, the News Guild, as you mentioned. They all see that this bill will help local journalism. This is a good bill. We can all come together on this one, and that makes it wonderful. And we've really, in creating the text of this bill, we've tried to be inclusive, so that if you're in the business of local news, you're included in this. We're not trying to shut anyone out. And I'm not saying the text is perfect, and we have opportunities to continue to adjust as we go along. But this is a good bill, and it helps local journalism. So I think any organization, if they are wanting to help local journalism, they take a look at the language, they're on board.
What resource are you offering, Dean, for anyone who wants to support this bill today, wants to possibly pick up a phone, send an email, lobby their local congressional leader to maybe get on board? Where can we direct people to the one spot to get maybe the right editorial to run, the right talking points, whatever? You give us a little help here.
Sure. So newspapers.org, which is our own website, just go straight to the homepage. You'll be deluged with information about this. Right now, this is absolutely our priority. But we've also created a separate website, supportcommunitynews.com.
Wow.
That's a little more public facing. So if the general public wants to know more about this bill, this is designed to really kind of walk them through, explain what it is. But if you're in the business, take a look at newspapers.org, and you'll find resources there that will help you in explaining this to your own legislators or your own audience.
And of course, there will be more added to that, like common messaging that we can run within our media products, put online, editorials we can run, things that we can do to help influence our audience to be in support.
Yes, it's all there now. In fact, it's pretty well built out right now. We'll continue to add to it.
Well, Dean, you got us, because I swear, end of December, I pretty much gave up. I'm sorry, I didn't give up on the mission of helping local journalism. I just saw the LGSA get so close. Congratulations, you and of course so many others that worked with you. Got something back on the table for this year. Everybody listen carefully. The making of the sausage sucks. It's going to change. It's going to evolve. But if all we got to do is help get it to the end line, it could truly help our industry find that sustainable business model. Am I saying that correctly, Dean? Is there any way you can amplify that?
No, I think you've nailed it. This will make a difference, and that's why we're spending so much time on this. It's hard to think of many things that we can do to help our members more directly and more immediate than this. This is effective. Once this legislation passes, the credits will be available after the first quarter. So this is pretty immediate support to our members.
Thank you, Dean, for your valuable time. I know you'll keep us up to date at ENP. We work with you in so many different messaging. We work with you in so many different platforms, but it's really feeling good right now to have this back on the table and have our congressional leaders understanding the value of local journalism. Thanks for your hard work, sir.
Well, thanks for sharing this with all of your audience. We appreciate it. Appreciate the good work you're doing.